It's Monday night. It's Orco o'clock. You know what time it is. It's time to start your Masters of the Universe March Madness off right here on Nerd Initiative. Mickey,
Yes,
play the intro.
I have the power.
By the power of Grayskull. Forces of Skeletor.
So good.
Fools, I have you now.
Uh,
Welcome back, Nerd Initiative. It is always a pleasure having you guys. It is Monday night. It's 8 o'clock. We are finally starting off with Masters of the Universe March. And of course, my name's Off the Cuff Tom, Nerd Initiative's pop culture connoisseur. And with me, as always, he's the cringer to my Battle Cat. He is the power sword to my He-Man. Now, he is the He-Man, and I'm the favorite. Let's be honest. I've got, of course, Mr. Mickey CWK Smith. He is also the voice of Nerd Initiative. Let me just remind you.
Thank you. Yeah, man. I hope you guys are ready because Grayskull, we are going to tear it up this month, all month, Masters of the Universe. And man, we're kicking it off tonight with the OGs. So I'm super excited.
And we do have this whole month, we are doing, because we said it's Master of the Universe March Madness, we do have a bracket coming up this month where this Mickey just put out today. Who is your favorite He-Man? So we are pitting Adam from the original Masters of the He-Man and the Master Universe. Again, He-Man from the He-Man and the Master Universe 2002 series. Masters of the Universe Revelation, which is technically still the original series, but we're treating them as, two different, iterations. And then the newer Adam from the kid-friendly He-Man and the Masters of the Universe Netflix series that was airing at the same time as Revelation. But trust me, it's two very different styles. So you are in for a treat. So you want to make sure you're following along on all the Nerd Initiative social medias. We've got to post it up everywhere. Keep voting. And by the time we get down to week 5, because this is a 5-week month,
Awesome.
we will tell you who is the number one winner. I can't believe we've done this, and I still don't know because I left this kind of in Mickey's hand. He came up with the idea, and then we did it. We did the
synergy. Yeah.
So there's still one line. I don't know who it is yet.
Oh well, no. So we're gonna do a bracket for a few characters. Okay. That was He-Man. And I know you guys are saying, what about New Adventures of He-Man or like maybe even movie He-Man? But I just felt like those didn't, if I had to take 2 out, those are the 2 I would take out because they didn't have as long a run or as big a popularity as maybe the others did. But we're going to do more characters. So be on the lookout on the socials. I'm going to have one side heroes, one side villains, and 2 winners are going to meet at Castle Grayskull and battle for the power of the cosmos for Masters of the Universe.
So we've got a lot to get into. I know that we are still in the midst of Toy Fair. Can we talk about what we're doing on Friday?
So let's get there. We'll bring up the toy news, right? Just to kind of, but that is something we're going to talk about a little bit. So let me pull this up real quick. I figure we'll just start right at the beginning. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, we're not going to do a whole lot of toy news. I just kind of want to touch on some very important things that happened over the week since last time we saw you, right? And
this is the most important as far as I'm concerned.
We already went over that, so that's cool. You guys know, go vote on the social media, go vote in the comments everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. Big news though, Mattel secures the exclusive license for DC toys, universe characters, I guess everything as far as what I was reading, like anything Warner Brothers DC related, Mattel's going to make toys for it. So that's kind of huge because where does that leave McFarlane? Is he done? Like, will we not see any more Batmans from McFarlane?
Don't know. Man, it's a shame because I was about ready to start jumping into that line because like Hasbro's on my list right now.
Yeah. So I mean, that's huge news as far as I'm concerned because McFarlane's been doing it for a while now, and I mean, I get it. Some people are kind of tired of it and they want something new. A lot of collectors that I hear from never liked that they were 7 inches and wish they were 6 to like match up with Marvel Legends and stuff like that. But it never bothered me. I thought they were pretty good sculpts. I didn't always love the articulation on those characters, especially around like the hips and the waist. But man, the sculpts were always really good. Paint was usually pretty good with a few exceptions. But yeah, I don't know what we're going to get, and I'm kind of excited about it. So that is to come.
I don't know.
Let us know in the comments what you think of that, by the way. Speaking of McFarlane, though.
Yeah.
So right now, this is just a page puncher's wave. So, from what I read, it was just the 4 turtles, right? Come with a comic. It'll be a 6 or 7 inch like McFarlane does. And they look a little more like the IDW comic style to me. I saw Leonardo. It was promo image, so I don't know how much of it is real. We haven't seen any actual in-hand images of them yet. But I thought, you passed off DC, and are you going to start making Ninja Turtles now? Because that'd be kind of dope.
Which is kind of interesting because you got to think that, Turtles and DC are all under that big, huge Warner Brothers umbrella at some point. So, was it stealing from Peter to pay Paul kind of idea?
Right. I don't know. There's the toy industry is turning right now, right? Especially with the toy fair going on, which again, we'll talk about a little more in depth. Beyond that, I think what is next? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, here you go. You ready?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Are we going to go with the Tom Trim here?
Oh yeah, ladies and gentlemen. Again, do we have the ticker ready?
Oh yeah. Hold on a second.
Sorry, Cat.
There we go. All right.
So,
go.
Thoughts and views of Off the Cuff Tom Trim do not reflect those of Nerd Initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, the Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Reignition line from Playmates has made its debut down at New York Toy Fair. Okay. Firstly, these figures that we see, the Automorphin figures, were not the ones that we saw in the silhouetted video a week and a half ago. All right. Make that very clear. They are these figures. Now, Playmates has come out to say that they are going to, of course, do Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because, look, let's be honest, it worked for Hasbro. It is a cash cow. The one thing I want everybody to make clear, okay? This is not the line for adults, okay? There has been speculation saying that they will be coming out in fourth quarter 2025. So get off your high Zord, shut up, and deal with it. We have been in such a drought of Power Rangers merchandise. Be grateful you are getting anything. All right? I personally am not going to get these figures. I'm happy with my Lightning collection. I'm happy with my Legacy. I'm happy with my Figuarts. As a matter of fact, in this lull, I have been filling out my Figuarts. So, because what I'm not spending on these figures, I'm spending more on that one figure, which makes me happy. But again, when it comes to adult collectors, chill the frick out. Get your Blizzard Megazord on and just chill. Okay? We'll get our figures eventually. Yeah. These look okay for kids' toys, not for adult collectors.
I like them.
That's cool. If you want, like, I know Matt would definitely want to have one of those Automorphin figures.
Yeah.
Because that's what he said he wanted as a kid. Awesome. Cool. Have at it. They're not for me, but respect the fact that they are not the ones, they're not the ones for everybody. And Playmates is smart. What makes money? Because sure as heck, you're not going to put out Operation Overdrive as your first season of figures. You're going to put out Mighty Morphin. It is a proven cash cow for the past 30 years. So shut the hell up. Okay, I need to stop now.
He's not yelling at you, Cat, I promise.
No, I'm not yelling at you, Cat. I'm just yelling at the fan base of chill. Like, I get it. We all have our toxic folks in our fandoms and people who don't want to read more than 2 sentences, but damn.
Yeah. You know what, though? I had told myself if the the weapons are detailed and these are with paint, I'd be interested. I mean, I don't have any Power Rangers except for like one Tommy from Super 7, the Green Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I kind of would like a Mighty
You have
Morphin.
one of the best figures.
Yeah, I would like to kind of fill out maybe the MMPR team and maybe some others down the road. But yeah, I don't know. Like you said, if they're coming out with more, I'll just wait and see. But these aren't look that bad to me.
They don't look that bad. Like, I mean, if you really want me to pick it apart, the Power Bow doesn't have the detail on the red spots. The Power Axe doesn't have the silver part on the blade. The Power Sword doesn't have the coin detail. They've kind of went a little bit over on that. On the Dragon Dagger, the Power Lance doesn't have enough silver detail, and the Power Daggers don't flare out. The one thing I will give them credit for, if you take a look, is Rita, Babu, Goldar, and even Putty and Babu and King Sphinx are coming out in this first set. So kudos to them for that, realizing that, hey, you can't have good guy figures without bad guy figures.
Yeah.
And that Babu looks fantastic. Again, for a kid's figure.
I like
getting the motorcycles.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I like the bikes. That's cool. And I think I got one more picture because we're also getting Zords.
Yep, and we are getting Zords. And again, these are children's toys. Look at the lack of detail. Look at the lack of, paint. These are designed for little kid hands with big kid figures. Okay? Chill that. I mean, look, there's role play masks already there.
Yeah.
Get the clue. I love you all. Trust me. May the power protect you. But seriously, chill out.
But that's one.
I need headache medicine. Oh my God.
I'll take it from you. So that was one of a ton of things dropped at this year's North American International Toy Fair in New York, which ends tomorrow. Still going on right now. Tomorrow's the last day. We decided that that's so much content that we just can't get it all in one toy news special, one toy news segment, especially when we're doing Masters of the Universe March. There's so much Masters of the Universe stuff to dig through. We just don't have the time. So this Friday.
That's right. Live and direct, straight from the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel, will be Play for Keeps the Show, an NI News special presentation talking about New York Toy Fair, Play Reimagine, at 8 p.m. this March 7th. Make sure you're there. Mickey, back to you.
That was great. Thank you. That's our field reporter, Tom Craven there. Yeah, so Friday, same time, same bat channel. We're going to be right here talking about Toy Fair things, news, cool new figures, stuff from the cell, stuff from Hasbro, stuff from Mattel, stuff from Funko, stuff from everywhere, man. It was just coming out of all directions, and even I was overwhelmed just trying to keep up with the information. And I like what Daniel says here about the Motu Thundercats crossover. They showed some in hand. They look great, and they revealed a couple more characters that were not in the original promo images, like Panthro and there was somebody else. I done lost who it was, but anyway,
I've been so keeping the blinders on because I don't want to see it till I do my homework for this.
There's a He-Man too. The He-Man in this set looks incredible in my opinion. If that's what we're getting, what I saw in a little case there, I want that. I want that real bad. So yeah, we'll get more detail of that stuff on Friday. Not tonight though, because
like Kat said, our friends at Nacelle have a figure that is in a sealed case on display. You can go check that out at Nacelle's social medias. It is. I have my suspicion what it might be. I even might have texted somebody, and they still won't tell me. But I'm going to put my theories out here, considering what they've already shown.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that knowing that we now have more Biker Mice Wave 2 is coming out. Mm-hmm. And we know that the Star Trek line is coming out. And after having Brian on here last week talking about how we're going to go back and forth between a command crew versus a rando crew, I don't think it's anything to do with the figures they've already done. I think we're going to get something out of the Nacelleverse that hasn't been made a toy yet. I say Power Lords.
Ooh, yeah, that would be nice. what was something else that I can't. There was something else.
Or he said that there's other things that have been acquired.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Maybe this is going to be the next big thing that's going to be coming out. They did just announce also Barnyard Commandos is getting an animated series.
That's cool. I like those toys. That's something I was kind of into as a kid. I had a couple of them, but I might go back and collect those. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I was thinking more along the lines of something we haven't seen from them yet, something new, a new property. And I hope that's what it is. I hope it's something cool. But we know it won't be RoboCop, unfortunately.
No.
Can you imagine that close?
Yeah, sorry, scum. Bruise.
Well, let's get into it. What you're all here for tonight, right? Masters of the Universe, baby. Huge franchise. I feel like if you're over 30, maybe a little younger, you know it. Like you just know it. Boy or girl. You probably know about He-Man and the Masters of the Universe in some iteration, in some way. And it's one of those things. It's American. It's Americana, pure Americana, in my opinion. Yeah.
And like Mickey said, we do have so much lined up. If you check the socials, we should have a schedule up later showing exactly which weeks that we're doing particular things. So that way you can understand like, oh, well, hey, wait, you missed this. And it's all lined up for the month.
Yeah, some things with He-Man kind of cross over with other things, and some things are just so big they need their own little niche. Like even though they are part of this, yes, exactly. So let's kick this thing off, man. Let's get started, right? So there's plenty of information out there about the history of Master Universe. I'm sure a lot of people may even know something.
What?
I'm sorry. Sorry. Oops.
Did you?
Oops, panel.
Sorry. There's always an Orko % chance that something's going to happen.
He's always doing the wrong spell, doing something crazy. Somehow he got in the Simpsons universe. I don't know how that happened, but whatever. We're back. We're coming back over here to play for keeps at Nerd Initiative. Yeah. Anyway, a lot of people know the history, but let's just kind of go through it, right? So Mattel, huge toy company, made their empire, I feel like, off of Barbie in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Barbie was their flagship franchise, IP, whatever you want to call it, character. But as we know, I mean, Barbie skews girl, right? Like it just does. Let's just be honest with it. Most boys don't want to play with Barbie.
This was the 80s. They, ever since the 60s and 70s, they definitely made toys that were skewing one way to the other. And now that we are finally in a socially acceptable space that all toys are for everybody, you got to understand marketing, Reaganomics.
Exactly. But Mattel, was approached by Star Wars. A young man named George Lucas, who they did not know, who no one really knew, had this movie.
No one really did.
And he wanted to make some figures for it. I want some figures to come out. And he asked for a very small time frame because back then, and probably now, toys take a couple of years to develop and produce and market and get out there on shelves. And I think he was like looking for something within like 6 months to a year. And, Mattel was like, A, we don't have enough time for that. B, we don't know who you are. We don't know anything about Star Wars. This seems silly to us. Take a hike. Mr. Lucas went on over to Kenner, and Kenner's like, we'll take a chance on it. And we know how that turned out, right? They made millions. They made out like bandits. And
they made money off a piece of cardboard.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. They sold you a piece of cardboard with the promise of some figures, and people bought it up.
The ultimate pre-order.
Yes. And so Mattel sees that, and they're like, holy crap, we missed out on that. Like, what are we doing? Like, we have some stuff for boys. As Daniel says here, the Hot Wheels, they were kind of around back then. Big Jim, which we're going to talk about some more. Big Jim was kind of not a hit though, but it was their boy toy, right? It kind of their G.I. Joe thing. So they're like, what do we do? Conan the Barbarian comes strolling around like, hey, we're coming out with this movie. And a lot of the guys at Mattel were big fans. Like they loved Conan. They love Frank Frazetta, all that stuff. So they're like, sure, let's do this. Toy rights for Conan the Barbarian. They find out closer to release, this is going to be a rated R film. Not a lot of kids are going to be able to watch it. They're probably not going to buy a lot of toys for it. And
because you're there to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and then hear the lamentations of their women.
That was very, very good. Oh man.
I
So
had that prepped up just in case.
you did great. You did great. I love it. So
Human
Mattel,
Alpha Simulator.
again, Mattel is like, nah, man, we're not gonna do this. This isn't advantageous for us in no way possible.
Ooh, good work.
But so now we've got Conan falls through. We missed out on Star Wars. We're gonna bring those things together. We got a guy who's making some great like artwork down in like development. I think his name was something Strong or Mark Strong. No, not Mark Strong. That's an actor. Mark Taylor, who was a big fan of Frank Frazetta and kind of drew in that style, Tarzan, Conan, all that stuff. And toy designer Roger Sweet was like, I think boys would like this because so the way I understand it is they felt like boys wanted the power. They were being told by like, their moms were hard on them most of the time. Like they always being told what to do. And they're like, what if we gave them the power? Right. And so they made these action figures that were huge. They wanted bigger and better, big muscles, tall guys, Arnold Schwarzenegger types, swords, sorcery, all that awesome stuff. And so they put together a little model from a couple of big gym characters, toys. Put some more clay on them to make their muscles a little bit bigger because he wasn't that huge. Put some I forgot to put a picture over here for it. One in barbarian armor. One in he looked like a Boba Fett helmet, really, and he had like a rocket pack on the back and everything. He's like a sci-fi type guy. And then one that had like a tank head. And they tried to they showed these to like, which one should we do? And they all decided on the barbarian. I mean, I would have to, because he looked just like He-Man. It was great. This isn't, again, the first time that they would use Big Jim for this stuff, right? We're going to see him again. Let's see here. So, Wave 1, 1982. We're going to drop them. We're going to drop, I think it's 1, 2, 3 heroes. Yeah. And then 4 heroes, 3 villains, and 1, we're not sure what he is, Zodiac. So you had He-Man, you had Man-at-Arms, you had Tila, you had Stratos, then you had Merman, Skeletor, Beastman. And then Zodiac was like a neutral guy at this time. And for a lot of people, that kind of threw him off for a loop. Like, kids didn't care. I remember not caring. I was like, I don't know who that guy is. I don't care. Zodiac. Like, he had nothing to do with, like, the rest of them. He was kind of odd in terms of character placement. This came with some really cool card backs. There's something about the art on these and the colors that just, they come out at you and you're like, dude, I want that. Right. Before they settled on Masters of the Universe, though, Lords of Power was kind of the name because power was a big deal in what they were doing. And of course, that kind of skewed religious in a way. So they had to rework a name and they just came up with Masters of the Universe. Lots of thinking on that. So yeah, every character came with a mini comic book to establish this lore because I forget the name of that first toy store that bought in Kids Partyland, something like that. But they were like, we don't know anything about these characters. Like, how are we? Why would kids care? Like, we don't know anything about them. We're gonna put a mini comic in with these cool backstories and this deep amount of lore produced by DC Comics, who was producing a comic book line of their own anyway, separate of this. And when they put them in that Superman versus He-Man thing, it kind of helped launch He-Man in a way. Superman's huge at this time, so to put He-Man there with him, it kind of boosts sales, and they have big time, right? They're making millions, way more. I think they doubled what they expected to make on this first wave.
This is one of those great things that it's really the cart was before the horse. Yes. In the 80s, a lot, as we were saying, like especially when we did our Rankin Bass episodes, is that we had the cartoon first and then we kind of played catch up to the figures. This is the other way around, having the figures before the show. So with the original release of the figures, it was kind of hard for them to go, that was a great way to establish everything. And then they finally get the cartoon.
This really set that precedent in the 80s, I feel like, where you see what He-Man did, and we'll get to it in wave 2. Once that cartoon hit, toy sales like quadrupled. Like they just went through the roof, right? But in this first wave, just a couple more things. We had 2 vehicles, and I feel like personally, vehicles were a big part of Masters of the Universe's success because they were really unique and really cool, and they had cool play features. Maybe not that Wind Raider, or no, that's not the Wind Raider. I'm sorry, that's the what's that one called? I can't remember. The Wind Raider's the bigger one. Anyway, yeah,
Skyrider, I think it was called.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh no, I think that's later. But anyway, they just had
so many.
but they all had like unique play thing, like something that set them different, something they could do, right? You could disconnect the I think it's the battering. That's not the battering ram, is it? But I don't know the names of this stuff because I've already forgotten half of everything I know. But you could disconnect the front and it would be like the flying sleds you would see in the cartoon, which we'll get to eventually. But those were cool. The vehicles were cool, but the piece de la resistance is Castle Grayskull. Right?
But let's also let's just take one quick second because I'm going to backtrack here.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Everybody in Master Universe goes to the same exact gym. Okay? This is easy production value. We take the same body and put different heads on it, with the exception of Tila.
Mm-hmm.
But they are the same mold. Like you literally can mold one guy and just change the heads out in the paint.
Which is really a huge part of their success, in my opinion, right? Because you didn't have to make all those molds. And what you did was you gave them the different head sculpts, but you also gave them unique accessories, which was really cool. And you gave them a lot.
It's the Barbie model.
Yeah, exactly. But when this came out, this like blew people's minds right here. Castle Grayskull, it was such a like visually striking playset. You ain't seen anything like this before. And it had really cool features on the inside, the weapons rack, the little stickers that looked like a pit of monsters or something, and then the trap door with the throne, and the elevator in the tower, and the guns. There was just, you could play for hours with this thing, and that was kind of huge, a huge part.
And it had a handle.
Yeah, it doubled as a carrying case. You could put your toys in there and carry it around. That was absolutely huge on their part in this first wave going forward, right? And we can't forget one of the best characters in Masters of the Universe, right? Where's Ken at? I don't see him in the chat right now.
He's not in the chat, but big shout out to our editor-in-chief, Ken from the ODPH podcast. He's been giving me crap, but
yeah. Oh yeah. So again, we see Big Jim again, right? They need something for He-Man to ride because in the Frazetta and the Conans and stuff, they're always riding horses. That's what the barbarians do, but what are we going to do? We're going to do something different. Just paint that tiger from Big Jim with green and give it orange stripes and put a saddle on it and put He-Man on it.
And they didn't even change the stripes. Like it is the same exact design for the stripes, only in a different color. It is a complete palette swap. And I don't care what anybody says, Battle Cat is still the best character in all of Masters of the Universe, even though Ken has beat me to it.
I tell you, but this was brilliant to see this. That dude's riding a tiger in armor. Like everything I feel like they did just spoke to their target audience. And and I don't think it was just little boys. I think older guys were like, that's pretty cool, man. And they wanted to buy their kids that stuff because you ain't really seen anything like this yet. These, like I said, these were huge compared to the time. You had a lot of 4-inch figures or 3 3/4, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, all that stuff. These were 5 inches, I believe, 5.5, and they were massive, man. They towered over any other action figure you had, except for like a classic G.I. Joe, maybe, or a Big Jim. But this stuff was brilliant marketing. They used what they had to make something new. I appreciate it, and like again, we'll see it several times again throughout the wave. There's a little mystery in Masters of the Universe. Tom, what do you know about? What do you know about Wundar?
Well, I'm actually very familiar with Wundar. The fact that Wundar is like the rarest figure in Master of the Universe lore. This was a promotion done with Wonder Bread. As a matter of fact, if you notice, this is the exact same He-Man sculpt, only with brown hair and the brown leotard or drawers.
Loincloth.
And black shoes. Yeah, loincloth. And it is amazing the fact that so many people don't have this. This was great cross marketing before they really got into this. All you had to do was purchase 3 figures from the the
Mattel.
Monchichis, the Dazzle Masters, and then I think you even had to send in your Wonder Bread receipts or something, or the UPCs, and then you got sent a Wondar. This is so rare. If you take a look down in the bottom corner here, you'll see that these figures have gone up exponentially, $3,000-$4,000, and Wondar has now had a long living legacy all the way up to most recently in 2023-24 with Masters of the Universe Revelation Revolution, where he finally got his cartoon debut. And here I am going, it's Wonder. And don't get me wrong, I didn't have a lot of Masters figures. I mean, I barely had them. Because in my neighborhood, everybody had them. So, you can go over your friend's house and play with them.
Yeah.
Like I had Castle Grayskull that I got at a secondhand shop or thrift store or someone's garage sale. But like, I know I didn't have Skeletor. I know I didn't have, I know the characters I may have had, but I know all the characters I didn't have.
Right.
And Wondar was definitely not one of them because we never ate Wonder Bread.
I had no idea this existed until probably like a few years ago. Like actually when Revelation came out, I was like, I don't know who that is. And I found out this is what it was. Very rare figure, very valuable, because there's not a lot of them. And speaking on your personal experience with Masters of the Universe, I had a lot of them. But
this whole month is for you, man.
I know, but I was also like almost too young for it because I was born in '83 and this came out in '82. The toy line.
I was born in '81, and my mom always used to say when I watched it, I called it B-Man, B-Man.
So like it was like a few years later before I got into it. But again, we're about to talk about the cartoon, and that's what really, these reruns of the cartoon got me, and these later waves where they were reproducing a lot of these first wave figures. So I was able to get in on a lot of it. That's how I knew a lot of it anyway. So Master Universe was doing great at, I think it's Kids Land or Child's Land is the name of that first store that they went through. But they knew the real money was at Toys R Us. We need Toys R Us, right? Toys R Us is like, cool, yeah, okay, but who are these toys for? They're like 5-year-olds. Like, how many 5-year-olds can read? Especially at this time. I think now it's a little different. 5-year-olds can read a little bit better, but because they were like, how do we know anything about these characters? They're like, it comes with a mini comic. They're like, well, 5-year-olds don't read. Like, how are they going to know? And they're like, yeah. Well, we got an animated show. Like, they just all right out of their butt, right? They just pulled it out. Like, yeah, we're going to do a cartoon. And they had to immediately find somebody. And they found Filmation, who was super hyped to do it because they were big fans of Conan the Barbarian. So, what's his name? Anyway, the guy was like, dude, we'll do it. I want creative control though of the show, but I'll do everything. So Filmation took on the project. They created a cartoon, and this is where we got a lot of changes because in the mini comics, the story's a little different than what you get in the cartoon.
Very different storylines.
He-Man did not have an alter ego of Prince Adam. He was always He-Man, right? He was the barbarian with a power sword. A lot of stuff was much more mature in terms of like what was going on with Barbarian. Like it was closer to Conan, right? But still not quite rated R, maybe like PG-13. But Filmation kind of flipped that and kind of introduced a lot more stuff for kids. You had Cringer for Battle Cat, and you had Prince Adam for He-Man. Skeletor was a lot more goofy all of a sudden. Like he was a really scary guy in the comics. Now he's kind of a cornball, and I love it.
Can't make them scary. Got to sell the toys. Can't scare the kids.
I love it. And they were all the bad guys were bumbling buffoons. All the heroes kind of just beat them up every day. It was everything 5-year-old me loved, or 6-year-old, 7-year-old me loved. And something that was great about it and would not go over today is the messages at the end of episodes. Like G.I. Joe did. I don't know who did it first. I think He-Man did it first. But you get an inspirational message at the end of the episode, kind of talking about the lesson learned in the episode. The more you know, all that stuff. And it was always really, it struck me as a kid. it got my. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like that's what a good person would do, or that's the right thing to do. And I just always think it's funny because if something were like that were aired today, it'd get thrown in the chipper, man. They'd be like woke trash, get it out of here. Why are you trying to teach our kids how to be nice?
It really is a truth. And the show, Lou Schreimer was the executive producer for that at Filmation. The original show aired on September 5th, 1983. So just a little bit after you were born, as a matter of fact, if I did my math right.
Yep.
And I was already like 2 years old at that point, or just about to hit 2.
Yeah.
But the thing is, at the end of the day, this show was developed to sell toys.
Yes.
So we didn't have we had a little bit of, and here's your lesson for the day, but there weren't really any big specific episodes in the entirety of He-Man's run that you can say were, oh, hey, this, completely changed everything.
Right.
There were a few, such as like Tila's quest, obviously the first episode, Diamond Ray of Disappearance, and then which was the first episode, Tila's quest, of course, is where we find out about Tila's parentage. I think at this point we all know that it's Man-at-Arms and the Sorceress, and if you don't, sorry, it's been 40 years, shut up.
Spoiler alert.
Yep. And then there was a rare 2-parter, The House of Shakoti, or I could be pronouncing this wrong, but it did add to Eternia's lore. There was also Prince Adam No More, and then The Taking of Grayskull, and then the Taking of Grayskull is where Skeletor uses a teleporter to go into Grayskull, take it away from Eternia. If there's no Grayskull, does He-Man have power, so on and so forth. And then there's The Search, which really leads into the Halls of Wisdom, where we finally get a small, tiny glimpse of what Preternia lore could be. Preternia became a big factor in one of the later series in the reboot. But yeah, at the end of the day, this was a 22-minute commercial. And that's really all I got as far as cartoon stuff goes. I mean, I'll talk about the next season when we talk about the next wave.
Yeah.
But first season is there you go. There's like 6 big episodes. That's it. Thank you very much. Hey,
right. Well, to your point, as you're saying, I believe there was a law in place at the time where you couldn't just commercialize this stuff to kids. There had to be some lessons learned. There had to be something about it. There had to be something else. Like, so they had to kind of include that stuff. I'm not saying they did it because they wanted to, but I'm glad they did. Because yes, their first priority was, how do we sell these toys? And then how do we also obey the law without just throwing commercial at them? Like, we have to make something of it. There has to be a story and there has to be a lesson and all that stuff. So that was the way it was. And that started that kick in the 80s, early 90s, where we get a cartoon, we sell the toys. So anyway, show comes out. Now we get a second wave of all these other characters that are showing up in the show. We get Ram Man, Manny Faces, Evil Lyn, Baker, Trapjaw, Triclops. And I think these characters are some of the most iconic in Masters of the Universe. This wave 2 is probably more beloved, in my opinion, than wave 1. Because you had these different play types that you didn't have in the first one. Like Ram Man, you could squish him down, press the button, and he battling ram. Manny Faces, you could spin it. I love Manny Faces. You could just keep changing his face. I was obsessed with it. Triclops, same thing. You could turn his head and his eyes would change to 3 different eyes. And Trapjaw. Trapjaw is a like fan favorite of all time, from what I noticed from a lot of Motu fans. Evil Lyn, like a bad case of jaundice or something with the yellows. I don't know why they were thinking with that. And then Faker is interesting. I think he's only in 1 episode, right?
Yeah, he was the magically made evil duplicate of He-Man. One thing that you really
look like that. He looked like He-Man, right?
He did, but he turned to blue eventually, if I remember. The one thing that a lot of people, I think we can now finally realize, is that the levels of power were always balanced in He-Man. It was always a constant fight. That's why even the bad guys and good guys had the same or similar play dynamics. Oh, we have Triclops over here. Oh, well, let's have Manny Faces. Oh, we have Tila over here. Okay, we need a girl, Evil Lyn. Oh, we've got He-Man, Faker. Trapjaw and Ram Man are kind of, I would say, the tech kind of guys.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we got Roboto and Champ Clamp and everything down the road.
Yeah.
But in the first few waves, it was very much on par level, keeping things as is.
Yeah. And of course, with a lot of these toys, first wave included, and I didn't really talk about it, but they had like that spring-loaded action where you turn their waist and they swing and punch.
Yep.
A lot of these play styles, and especially starting in this wave, kind of created more wear and tear on the toys, which is what makes them a little more harder to find. Like Ram Man, that mechanism would wear out, and he'd be all scratched up here from banging stuff. Kids would just be boom, boom, boom. Manny his faces would get all scratched up from just constant spinning,
rubbing inside his own head. Yeah.
So this is where we kind of start. They start adding really cool play mechanics, but we also start getting a lot more wear and tear on the toys because of it. So I think that's great for the toys, but that's what makes them hard to find now and incomplete and in good shape.
Hey, look, it's Evil Battle Cat.
If He-Man's going to be riding on a cat, so does Skeletor, and we're going to take that tiger, we're going to color him purple, and we're going to flock him. Mother flocking this is another toy really hard to find in good shape because that stuff rubs off super easy when you're playing with it.
Either that or it's clumped up with so much dust at this point that you don't want to take it off.
You're just kids, just from rubbing your hand, touching it too, that stuff just rubs off over time really easily. And plus banging it up against Battle Cat if you're playing, that stuff happens. So these are pretty hard to find in mint condition because of that.
Yep. And we've had Panthers since then, and heck, even the newer seasons have still flocked Panther, but not Battle Cat.
Yeah. And going again.
Hey, it's Big Jim.
We had the Big Jim Tiger, now the Big Jim Eagle from their camping set or whatever, and they made Screech and Zor from that. Zor being the sorceress when she transforms, and she can leave Castle Grayskull in this form. And then Screech being like the robotic version for Evil Lyn and Skeletor.
Again, balances out.
Yin and yang, baby. If we're going to make a toy for them, we got to make a toy for them too. I feel like the only place where that's maybe not true is the vehicles. I feel like the good guys got all the vehicles and the villains only got like a few sprinkled in over time. Speaking of which.
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from. I never understood this one.
The attack tank? Attack track, I mean? Or are you talking about point
track? Yeah. Okay. The attack track. Like, I was like, oh, it's a tank that has stupid treads. If you're going to be a tank, be a tank.
I know it's pointless, like, in terms of, like, functionality, but I love it. And I thought it was a cool toy because those tracks would run and then flip over, run and then flip over it. And it was kind of like...
Batteries not included.
I remember them kind of using the G.I. Joe tank that used to... It was battery powered. It would move, right?
The hiss.
Yes, the hiss. Thank you. And it would run into things and stop, and they were like, well, we want something that could go over stuff. Even still, I've seen people do it. Like, it'll still get stopped. Like, it won't jump over anything. But I thought it was an interesting thing. It's something fun to watch. I feel like it's a good sensory experience for a kid. Like, oh man, look at that. But does it serve a purpose? Not really. Now Point Dread did. Point Dread was a big deal because you could attach it to the top of Castle Grayskull.
Yep.
And this was a much cooler, like, flying vehicle than the one we had in Wave 1 because you could fit 2 characters in it. The only thing was this one was super brittle plastic-wise. There's not a lot of these you can find either because they break pretty easily over time, especially the latch that goes up and down on the top. But just to have that extra play feature for Castle Grayskull, brilliant.
Yep.
Marketing, in my opinion. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up Wave 2. They were just kind of adding to the layers from Wave 1 and what we got in like the animated series. So Wave 3, 1984, we're going to expand out a little more into these characters from the animated series. And we're going to get our first 2 variants of He-Man and Skeletor.
That's right.
So we got our battle armors. Yeah, go ahead.
So Wave 3 came out right in 1984. At the same time, this is when we finally got season 2 of Masters of the Universe. Again, it's just a 22-minute commercial. But we had not a lot of big big episodes, probably maybe about 5-ish. One of them was the Energy Beast, which definitely helps as far as I know. I mentioned about Preternia from season 1 being slightly mentioned or hinted at. This one really showed some of the different areas in Eternia, which would obviously lend itself to what would be considered the holy grail of Masters of the Universe toys.
Yeah.
The origin of the sorceress is exactly that. It's the origin of the sorceress. She was always a very mysterious character,
Right.
as far as I remember. Then there was the Shadow of Skeletor, which again helped develop what we would know about, the Eternia playset. There was also great episode called The Arena, and then The Problem with Power is probably the biggest episode that you have got as far as, character development. He-Man faces a dilemma when he thinks he's caused the death of someone. He almost considered giving up the powers altogether.
Yeah.
And we kind of see that later down the road in Revelation Revolution.
Yeah.
But again, all those figures all went to the same gym.
Exactly.
Except Orc.
We got a lot of new play features that are different again. And as Daniel says, Battle Armor are my favorite versions of He-Man and Skeletor. They are very iconic because of the chess pieces that were turned to show battle damage. I thought, again, very cool sensory experience for kids, and it showed some kind of, it gave some kind of realism to your imagination while you're playing this thing. Like, oh, I hit him, he's got a scratch. I hit him, now he's got 2 scratches. And I thought that was pretty cool. This is our first Prince Adam figure, which is pretty cool.
With pants.
And our first Snake Man. Which we may get into that in another episode, but Jiu-Jitsu, Fisto. What, he's got to be the most ridiculous.
Jiu-Jitsu, Festo, Mechanic, Orko, Buzz Off.
Yep.
I cannot remember the lobster dude's name.
I think it's Claw something.
Naming the characters back at this time was very easy because they weren't very nuanced. It was either put man next to it or So it's like, oh, you're a skeleton, Skeletor. You have a big fist, Fist-O.
That's Clawful, by the way.
Well, that's a awful name.
Yeah. Webster is the spider. Whiplash is the like scorpion kind of dude up in the top left. And we got Cobra Khan, like I said, is our first basic. We don't know it yet. They haven't said this yet, but this is a Snake Man, basically. Yeah. So, yeah, this was a pretty interesting wave. Introduced some new things that characters could do. But, we're kind of we're getting at the height of
Super Chat. We got a Super Chat.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much.
Speaking of which, I know Daniel. Geeks with Beards is a podcast that they do where they talk about toys and stuff too. Fantastic. Go check that out if you get a chance. They're great. Moving on. Let me pull up my
There's my boy Stridor.
Yeah. There you go.
That's one of my favorite vehicles. Even though I didn't have it, I just love the idea that there's a freaking robot horse.
Yeah.
And again, named with an "or" on the end.
That was a great vehicle for the bad guys. That dragon tank was dumb, in my opinion. It just kind of swung around and moved up. The back would swing around. Yeah. The head would move up. Now I think what is that? It's like a dragster. Man, you'd pull that ripcord, that sucker would go, man. I had one. That was one of the only vehicles I had, and I loved it. I would play with it for hours. And then I can never remember that horse's name, but the bummer about him is his legs were not they were stationary, static. They didn't move. And I was like, what a letdown. You could at least move them back.
That's Stridor.
Stridor, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. So yeah. And we get a weapons pack. We haven't seen anything like that yet. An accessories pack they're all repainted weapons, but still, that's kind of interesting. That was new.
And there's Wondar's chest plate there too.
That's right. Yep.
And again, because Masters is using the Barbie, line, it's Barbie. You buy Barbie, But what do you always buy separately to keep Barbie updated? Accessories, merchandising.
Merchandising. Heck yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
But and I didn't talk about this with the first wave, but I felt like the weapons were surprisingly good for what they were. Like
Mm-hmm.
they were fairly detailed and well molded, and like I thought it was cool that they offered a lot of accessories with their toys. But now in later lines, you kind of see they dwindle it down to like maybe one if you're lucky. So yeah, we get another playset in this wave though. Snake Mountain comes around. We get the bad guys joint. We get Skeletor's joint. This one was pretty cool. It didn't have a lot to offer on the inside, really, but the outside was just really fun to look at.
Really cool.
Yeah.
But it did offer something that that Castle Grayskull did not. It had a microphone in it that you could change your voice.
That was cool.
I very much remember this one. I know my cousin Mike had a few He-Man figures. Now that I think about it, like I know he had Battle Damage. I think Pat down the street had Snake Mountain, or my cousin Mikey had that. But I remember always shut up. Fine.
But yeah, I mean, we've got Grayskull, now we've got Snake Mountain. You can double play. I think this was a great release to kind of reinvigorate playtime with Master of the Universe. So Wave 4 is coming out.
Whoa. Wave 4 is going to be set for week 4.
Well,
here on the show because it's the Horde.
I'm going to go over some of Wave 4, but we're going to separate the Horde because they're kind of different, right? Like, sure, they're part of Master Universe, but there's something else too. And this is when, as a kid, I was starting to get into He-Man, so I got a lot of Horde characters for my first time. And like I said, also, as these waves are dropping, they are also releasing like not an updated, but a classic He-Man and a Skeletor in each wave too, so that collectors that missed out on wave 1 could still get one, which was a brilliant idea. And they were also releasing like 2-packs and 3-packs. Like you could get He-Man and Battle Cat, you could get Skeletor and Panther, you could get like He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Tila. They were doing these kind of things to, because the kids were still getting into it. We're still in the animated series here, still in the thick of it, but they might have missed out on wave 1. Now this is an easy way for them to get back in. So that was also going on at this time. But there were some standard characters introduced in the animated series that we got figures of that were not Horde related.
Yes.
And they were some very interesting ones. Roboto, very cool, transparent. You could see the gears move when you were.
Love that figure.
Cyclone, I thought was kind of interesting. You had that spinning action. Very cool. Mossman, smelled like pine, was also flocked. A very interesting choice for.
He's just a color swap of Beastman.
He is. Wasn't none of these people were huge in the show, but you know what I'm saying. You got is it Spikor, I think, and you got Too Bad. Very cool characters, I think. They were very interesting, had some different, but we got to talk about Stinkor. Whose idea was it to bake in that nasty smell into the plastic instead of just like giving it a coating so it would wear off? Who was the guy that was like, I'm going to make sure this thing stinks for the rest of your life?
And Mattel got backlash on this figure. All right. Parents were pissed on this one.
This hurt them.
I think that, they were trying to, Pine Fresh over here, Stink over here. This was that part of the 80s where gross was the thing. You had your Mad Balls and you had your creepy crawlers. And so why not go all out for it? I just think it was hilarious. I know I've seen at least one. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go to the factory where they made that.
Oh God, no!
How did we find the?
How did they?
There had to be one production facility just to make this one.
They had to be dying
and then shut it down.
That feels so bad for these people that were in there. They probably smelled like that for the rest of their lives too. Their clothes had to be burned and had to be washed in
seriously.
But this was also a repaint of Merman. So just put some black and white on them and some armor.
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
I was too.
Yeah. Yeah. So to speak to the this is the thing, the gross thing, right, is kind of happening right now. And we haven't talked about the Horde, and we're not going to in this episode, but the Horde also included a playset with slime. And in my opinion, when toys start going the slime route, it's pretty much over. Like, you can go ahead, you've peaked. Like, it's time, we're going downhill now. Because
Anyway, that's to jump the shark.
Because I don't know a lot of parents that were down with that. I'm going to speak from experience. If something has slime in it, we're probably not going to buy it in my house because I'm not cleaning that up.
I never had anything with slime. I think after the first set, that was it. It was done. Once it got in the green shag carpet, nope.
The only way I see this is TMNT had that, and once I got that, my parents were like, "We don't want to do this anymore." So I feel like all parents have that same vibe where it's like, we draw the line at slime, especially that kind of slime back then was very messy. It's not, there's kind of slimes now that are much more cleaner, but back then, not so much.
No, it was not a very good idea.
Yeah. So Masters of the Universe were starting to enter the realm of like way out of the box. Like, how do we do something super different? Right. But we got 2 more variants of He-Man and Skeletor, and these were actually pretty cool, especially that Thunder Punch He-Man. I dug that. Right. This is one of my favorites. He came with, you could buy the cap separate, but he came with some caps as well. And I think you loaded him in his chest or in his back. I can't remember. But anyway, you load up his cap, you turn him for his swinging punch action from wave 1. But this time, there's a pop and some smoke like a cap gun when he lands the punch. I thought that was interesting and very cool. And I also, I love this armor. This is one of my favorite He-Man armors. And I love his chrome shield and his golden sword. Those were awesome to me. I thought this was a great figure. But to go along with the Thunder Punch He-Man, you had Dragon Blaster Skeletor, whose little dragon on his shoulder would squirt water at you. So you had fire and you had water. So again, we're staying equal here. The Skeletor was pretty cool. And the cool thing was that dragon could fit on other characters too. It didn't just have to go on Skeletor.
Because they all went to the same gym. Sorry, I'm going to be the joke for the long. Interestingly enough, Thunder Punch He-Man has been redone in the new Eternia line. More recently, he doesn't come with the pops in there, but he does have an effect. So I just, you got to give him credit for at least making the deep cut. Thunder Punch He-Man had a backpack that opened up, and that's how you loaded them in.
Yeah. So I like that. I was a big fan of cap guns as a kid, so this was also something I really liked.
Who wasn't?
Cool play feature, right? Can't have those anymore. But some more vehicles in this wave to kind of round it out. Not the Horde vehicles, but our other vehicles. The battering ram. We had the Land Shark. We had is it Night Stalker? Is the version Skeletor's version of Strider?
Give me 2 seconds. It was Night Stalker in '85. Spider.
Spider was great. Land Shark is great. It's beautiful. I love the colors.
Land Shark, oddly to me, is the iconic villain vehicle.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's that one that's stuck in my head.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about Night Stalker till about 42 seconds ago.
Hey, now you do.
That's why we do this.
That's right. I can't remember the dragon's name, but it's like a skeleton that doubles as a carrying case because they had little things that would hook around the waist of your Masters of the Universe toys. The thing was, though, those were pretty flexible, not very flexible, and kind of brittle. So they broke pretty easily, and you can't find a lot of those in good condition anymore because those little tabs would break off that would hold the kit.
That is called the Battle Bones action figure case.
Battle Bones. Interestingly enough, we'll talk about it in another episode because that one kind of gets reused in the 2002 Masters of the Universe in the animated series. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's a lot of the figures. That's the figures and vehicles. Did not get a playset in this wave. Well, we did, but it's in the Horde, and it's the one I had, and we'll talk about that again.
Okay, before we get into these characters, all right, something has been pissing me off for the longest time.
Okay.
Who the hell is this sheriff-looking dude? Because I cannot remember his name to save my life.
His name is Rio Blast. My buddy, my co-host and friend, Charlie from the B Action Show, huge fan of Rio Blast. That's the only reason I really know him. Because he has a figure of him and he just loves it. He had his little turrets would fold over to the top of his head, and he had like guns on the sides.
Chest would open up, and I just don't get it.
I think he was like, this was 86. Action movies are hopping. You've got Chuck Norris, you've got Charlie Bronson, you've got all these guys, and I feel like this was capitalizing on that. He's really cool. I think he looks interesting, but I don't think he looks like he fits in Masters of the Universe.
Not at all.
Yeah. Neither do those Comet guys, because I don't remember those.
Those are the Rock Lords.
I don't remember them, and they transform. Basically, you put them you can close them up into a rock, and then they'll pop open into the action figure style. But I don't remember them at all. But that is an interesting thing. But again, they look more like Transformers or something to me.
Well, since you're asking, the Rock Lords, if I remember correctly, wasn't in Masters of the Universe. These were a spin-off line, if I remember correctly, and a completely separate show.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. No, I'm thinking Battle of the Rock Lords from GoBots. But hold on, give me a second.
You're good. But we also
got the Rock people,
Yeah. We also got 2 more variations of Skeletor and He-Man. And as a kid, I loved Terror Claw's Skeletor. That was my favorite Skeletor. That's the one I had and played with more than any other Skeletor. I thought he was great. I would put they were gloves you could take off, and I would put them on other characters and just have a ball with that thing.
And then don't forget, we also had Snot Spout as well, because again, the gross factor and the toy factor, the water playing factor. Who the heck is this Manny Mechaneck separating skeleton guy?
I think his name is Extendor, if I'm not mistaken, and he extends. All of his joints extend. His knees, his elbows, his waist, his neck, all extend.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, just put an "or" on the end of it. It's Extendar.
Extendar, excuse me.
Extendar.
Excuse me. Sorry.
It's not Leviosa, it's Leviosa.
But again, we are also leaving out a few characters Horde related, because I hate to keep beating a dead horse. I just don't want anybody to be like, "Where's the Horde?" We'll get them in a future episode.
We're getting them in She-Ra week.
That's right. It makes sense, because that's really where they showed up the most. That's where they were most important. We got some more accessories packs with this wave. We got the Stilt Stalkers, the Jet Sled, and a Mega Laser that you could use with any character. They were universal to put on whoever you wanted. I don't remember.
Who the hell wants about the stilts?
Man, I don't know what it is with stilts. Why? Yeah, it just seems so non-practical in battle.
Like the only character I could see that would work with, Extendar.
Extra extender.
He has the high ground, or Mechaneck.
Yeah, I think the Mega Laser and the Jet Sled are pretty cool, but the Mega Laser could have come with Rio Blast or someone else, from the Horde.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a good idea. But yeah, we also got a few more vehicles here. We got the Laser Bolt, which I had. It's one of only 2 of the vehicles I ever had for Masters of the Universe. You also had this really cool Blaster Hawk, because it had a little handle that you could hold and fly around with, if I'm not mistaken. And it shot out discs, which when I was a kid, I was about that stuff. If it had projectiles, I was in. And then the Fright Flyer, which was Skeletor's little helicopter, which, looking at it now, I think someone from Dune owes them some money for stealing that for their ornithopter designs.
I just think that there was an unused dragonfly from another season of something.
That's true. But this was the year of every classic collector. This is the Grail, the Eternia playset. It was huge. It had so many things it could do. It had that battery operated little like transporter that would go around. It was a big deal. I don't think I ever saw it, and I don't think I knew anybody that had that. So I don't know if it was the price point that kept it away from people, or if there was a limited stock, or what. But
or if it was so far at the end of the series, that could be another one.
We haven't hit that last wave yet, and we're not going to until next episode, because it's important to that, because it is the fall off of He-Man, basically.
So what we're talking about is the Snake Men. All right. We made the call to do the Snake Men next week because it really is important to a lot of the other seasons down the line because they become plot points, and we like to try and tie in the toys and the TV as well. But next week we are going to briefly talk about the Horde. And we're going to say, well, the Horde's next week.
Yeah, they're a part of some future waves, but again, we're going to be like, next episode.
Yep. But next week, we're going to make sure that we're going to cover the Masters of the Universe live-action movie starring Dolph Lundgren. We're going to talk about the whole Snake Men series at the end of the original He-Man and Master Universe line. And then we're going to go into the sequel series, The New Adventures of He-Man, and talk about the toys and the TV that goes along with all that. What? You didn't like that? I liked it. Look, I didn't mind it because I think it was a little bit more. I was a little older. They decided to change it up a little bit. The animation stuff. Look, that's the reason we'll get into that when we get into it. Right.
We'll get into it. You know, I don't hate it. I was just like, it wasn't for me.
And that's fine. It wasn't for you, but it was for me.
It leaned really heavy into the sci-fi, whereas I liked more of the
mythical sorcery.
Yeah. So, but it's still cool. I still like that He-Man design. I think he's damn near iconic too. Reminds me a lot of Flash Gordon. So, and I love Flash Gordon.
Oh yeah, that's a great thing. So again, we just want to remind everybody, if you're following along here, go on to all the social medias. We have the first of our 4 brackets of Masters of the Universe March Madness. Who is your favorite He-Man version? Okay. Is it going to be the original series? Is it He-Man from the 2002 series? Is it Masters of the Universe Revelation/Revolution? Or is it the cutesy kid He-Man from Masters of the Universe? We want to know. So follow us on all the socials. Make sure you vote. Because that is the thing. Not only that, we always want to remind you at the end of every episode, if you're enjoying what we're doing, and thank you so very much again to Daniel for our first super chat, I believe, here on Play for Keeps.
Yep.
That if you're loving what we're doing, make sure that you subscribe, you hit that bell, and you hit that big old thumbs up to let the GEO Michael know that we are doing our job and we're doing it well. So again, just a reminder, this is a very special week. We are literally in the midst of Toy Fair. So coming back here on Friday night, we are going to have a very special episode. That is correct. We are going to cover all of Toy Fair toy dues, or at least as much as we can fit 4 days of toys into, an hour of content. So we want to definitely make sure and see you back here on Nerd Initiative.
Yes.
This has been fantastic. I love the fact that, Nikki, this, when we do these, I sometimes go off, but the fact to see you blossoming right now, it's like you have the power is so great.
We're talking about my jam. I'm ready.
It really is. Now, once we start getting up to some of the more newer stuff, we're going to be like He-Man and Skeletor.
I'm down.
So we want to thank everybody for showing up. Make sure you're following on all the social medias. Tomorrow night, we've got Turn It Page. Me and Ken we're finally going to cover, since Daredevil drops tomorrow, we're going to be doing a great Daredevil story. Yep, Daredevil story. We're going to be doing that. Wednesday, 30 plus some odd reviews are coming out. Thursday, dropping in from the top rope, Rich and Nick, Wrestling Night Live. And then Friday, our very special presentation of, New York Toy Fair, following up on everything. Nobody does news like the Nerd Initiative. Nobody does anything on the internet like Nerd Initiative. Also, if you've been following on our social medias, we are doing an open call. So if anybody wants to join the home for pop culture positivity, make sure you come and join us. We do have a form for you to fill out, and we'll see, if you got what it takes to be one of us. I mean, you're not going to be the voice. I can tell you that. That one's already taken. But if there's a fandom that you love and you want to talk about, we would love to have you. So make sure following all the social medias. We have our links up there. And of course, I have the power. But when you play
for keeps. Have a great night.
I'm out.
Bruce.